Hi, my name's Katrina and today I'm here to review Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fanny Flagg. Throughout this video I am going to refer to it as tomatoes because I am Scottish and that's how we say it. I know it's really tomatoes, but not going to happen. This is going to be a non-spoiler review. I don't have that much to say that is spoilery, or any of the discussion points I'm going to say that are spoilery, so it's going to be a non-spoiler review. This is easily the sweetest, fluffiest, lightest book I've read in so long. This is joyful, but it's passionate and so atmospheric. I was totally swept up in this book. This has several timelines. The main two are, one, the friendship between Mrs. Evelyn Couch and Mrs. Threadgood, who meet at a nursing home. Mrs. Threadgood is a resident there and Evelyn Couch meets her while visiting her mother-in-law. They become very close. They share a lot of both what's currently going on in Evelyn's life and what went on in Mrs. Threadgood's life in the past as Mrs. Threadgood is aging. And the other timeline is back in Whistle Stop, Alabama in the 20s, 30s and 40s, following the romance of Edgy Threadgood and Ruth Jameson. I believe in the movie, the relationship of Edgy and Ruth is very much like a best friends relationship, but in this it's very clear that they are romantically involved. There's no like love scenes, I wouldn't go so far as saying it's explicit, but it's explicitly stated that they are in love, they are partners. Edgy raises Ruth's child with her, that kind of thing. They are definitely in a relationship. There are a lot of characters in this book and they're actually all very well drawn, particularly the main characters. I feel like I know who they all are, how they were all with one another, and it was lovely. The cast of this book is very, very diverse. There are black, white and mixed race characters in it. Like I've just said, Edgy and Ruth are in a homosexual relationship together. There are some disabled characters, both physically and mentally, and the characters go over a wide age range. And I feel like I know who they all were. I think my favourite part of this book was definitely the authorial voice that was coming through. It's very strong, it's very marked, it's rhythmical. You could hear it in this southern accent. It's set in Alabama, and just the narrator, there was no out and out narrator, but it was a very strong rhythmical language going through it all, which I think bound the whole story together and made it feel warm. You felt like you were being told a tale. Really a huge part of the atmosphere that was crafted in this novel. Evelyn goes through the most character development throughout this story. Her story is the most linear. The sort of flashback stories are very far sort of forward and back, jumping back and forward. You have to pay attention to the dates at the top of each chapter to keep that clear, but Evelyn's storyline is very linear and she's definitely the most character development throughout. This is quite a feminist novel in my opinion. There's a section where Evelyn's looking back on her life and how she's ended up where she has ended up. She's thinking back on how different her daughter's life is from hers, and how hers is so different from Mrs. Threadgood's. The changes in a woman's place in society over time, the differences between the 50s and 60s when she was a teenager and the 80s, now she's a middle-aged woman, the expectations that were put on her, the lack of options she felt like she had, and how her daughter has so many more options and she can't wrap her head around it. Race is a huge theme in this story. We have, like I said before, we have a lot of black characters, and in the subsequent generations there's a lot of mixed race characters. It talks about how characters who, even brothers and sisters, ones who are much darker than others, are treated completely differently. There's a scene where a character who is out and she's in a department store and she's passing as white that day, and today she's playing at being white, and her uncle, who is much darker skinned, attempts to come up and talk to her, and he is thrown out of the department store for harassing the nice white lady. There's Ku Klux Klan members in this story, and Edgy, who I've not spoken that much about yet actually, but I loved Edgy. Edgy stands up to them. She's considered to be a radical because she serves food to the black members of their community, not even in the main restaurant. She owns this cafe, the Whistle Stop Cafe, and she serves food to the black members of the community out the back door, and she's threatened by the Ku Klux Klan, and she's considered to be a revolutionary because she's not even treating them the same, but treating them like human beings. And it's crazy to me. This was written in the 80s, so some of the language would not be considered acceptable now. It's not quite Huckleberry Finn levels of bad. They do use the N-word, but it's clear that it's a derogatory term and it's not acceptable, but they do use the word coloured quite a lot, and coloured folks is a phrase which is used over and over again, which is not really acceptable in today's culture, but like I say, it was written in the 80s, and a lot of the time it's also how the black characters are referring to themselves, so it's definitely meant respectfully. Another theme in this, which was a very, very important theme, is just friendship. It doesn't actually have that much romance in it, it just has really intense female friendships, particularly between Evelyn and Mrs. Threadgood, and community friendships and supporting one another in the community. And that's shown as being very important over and over again. I think the main theme though is just acceptance, accepting people for who they are and how they are, both in our romantic life, in our friendships, and I just loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. This is definitely a lot of stories together. This is past, present, and looking to the future. There was so much warmth in this. I read it really slowly, read a little bit at a time, really enjoyed it. This story, it doesn't have a huge moral to it. We're just learning about these characters, their lives, in this very atmospheric way, but it's definitely a story about acceptance and love and family and community. I have a feeling I've not been particularly coherent throughout this video, but this was a really special book. I think everyone should read this. It was so lovely and warm. It was very comforting feeling. I'm definitely gonna come back to this in a few years just to re-experience it. So thanks for watching my book review slash gush of Fanny Flagg's Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. You can also follow me on Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter, all of which are linked below. Thanks for watching. Bye.